Hey, welcome to the Junk Project. I'm your host, Michelle Hill, and today we have the awesome opportunity to be joined with our guest, Brian K. Wright. Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Michelle, thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you too.
Awesome. Why don't you share with us what you've got going on? I know you've got lots of projects going on, and
Yeah.
I love your story, and you're just an amazing entrepreneur and person and everything. So,
Well, thank you so much. I wasn't always an entrepreneur, although I think it's always been in me somehow. I mean, I had a lemonade stand when I was a kid, or I would, like on certain days, I would say, "Mom, can I have a lemonade stand outside?" And
yeah.
she would, help me set it up. And it was in a small town on a not very busy street. So I just sat out there for hours and maybe sold maybe two or three cups of lemonade. But I mean, it was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun having people pay me a dime for a glass of lemonade
Yeah. Yeah.
back in the day. And fast forward when I moved to Lincoln, Nebraska, I was teaching. I was a college instructor, and I taught public speaking, English composition, and business math. And so I loved doing that. And I was a resume writer on the side. So I had my own resume writing business before the internet, of course.
Wow.
So I was dealing with ads in the Yellow Page book and in the local newspaper twice a week. Lincoln, Nebraska is a fair, well, I don't want to say really large city, but it was a couple 100,000.
Yeah.
So it had a lot of circulation. And then advertising in the student newspaper on the University of Nebraska campus. So I was getting some business there.
Hmm.
Then I moved out to Arizona and ended up in the call center world for quite a while. That was interesting. That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
And the last job that I had was working for a real estate agent, and I was cold calling in the neighborhood, inviting people to open houses and assessing whether people wanted to buy or sell their house anytime soon. And so I was paid hourly, and then I got a bonus every time someone agreed to list their house. And I also got another bonus every time the home was bought or sold.
Oh,
So I did
that's cool.
okay. And meanwhile, I was getting my business going. So getting
Hmm.
to that part of the story, I started my show Success Profiles Radio in 2012. So I had my 10-year anniversary in January.
Yay.
Thank
Congrats.
you. And then I started Success Profiles Magazine, which is an offshoot of that back in the late 2017. I had my 4-year anniversary in December,
Wow.
and I help people write their books. And that's always fun. It's fun learning about people's different entrepreneur journeys and what they've learned and the wisdom that they want to impart to the world. So really my overarching mission is to help people get their message out to the world in a much bigger way, through radio, through magazines, and through book production.
I love that. We have some customers that we'll go into, and man, they have wall to wall library of books. And I'm
Yeah.
always fascinated with that because the first thing I do is, did you read these or most of them? And a lot of them say, yeah.
Hmm.
That like my brother has a ton of books that I was asking my mom, I was like, does he read these? And she goes, no, I don't think he does. I think he just buys them to help the people out. And I'm like, okay. But I'm always fascinated with people who read lots of books, and I'm wanting to work on write my own book. And I'm like, I don't even know how to start. And I've researched it. And people say start with the chapters. And I'm like, I don't even know what the book's going to be about. So it's really difficult,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get started when you're struggling like that.
Yeah. And that's a common question that I get when I help my clients is, what do I write about?
Yeah.
And how do I get started? And I ask them, first of all, well, what do you want to tell the world? Who's your audience, first of all? Because
Hmm.
that's a foundational question. I've got a current client who wants to do 2 books, and he asked me which one I want to talk about first. He said one's for general audience and one's for entrepreneurs. I said, which audience do you want to talk to first? I
There
think
you
the
go.
general audience. I said, well, then that's the book we're writing first.
Yep. Yep. And that makes a lot of sense. Like I want to do a book based around my business. I don't want to
Mhm.
do a personal book. Not ready for that one yet.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm, trying to figure out. And
Yeah.
something that, because I love giving my customers gifts, and I want to give
Mhm.
them the book as a gift.
Right. A
So
lot. And you know what's interesting? I haven't written that book yet. I have 5 books, and number 6 is coming out later this month.
awesome.
but I haven't shared that book yet. But what I've done in some of my other books is, as I'm imparting the wisdom that I've learned, I will sprinkle stories about my experience. So I'm giving people bits and pieces of my history, but I haven't put it all in one place yet.
Do you think you'll do that
I think
eventually?
eventually, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I don't want to do it yet because of some family members.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm waiting. And it's nothing disrespectful to them. It's just they were a type of person at that time, and they are no longer like that. And
Hmm.
I don't want people while they're alive to assume they are that not that good person. Does that make
Right.
sense?
It does.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm just not gonna write anything about them right now. But I'm always fascinated with it, and I really like to read. I need to work on sitting down and reading more, but I think it's fascinating what you do, and it's definitely challenging. I mean, from my end, so I can
Hmm.
only imagine how it is from your end.
Yeah.
Putting everything together and
Yeah. It's a challenge that I enjoy.
yeah,
Uh, you know, and it's so interesting. Sometimes when we have a specific skill set, we think, oh, this isn't a big deal. Well, it looks like a superpower to someone who doesn't have your skill set.
yeah, yeah, and it is that is your superpower because it is
Yeah.
definitely not mine. And I've noticed that sometimes I tend to write a little bit better than I speak. So
Uh-huh.
it's because I have time to think it about it when I write it
Right.
down. But as far as like English and proper punctuation, yeah, I think I failed English, but hey.
Yeah.
It's difficult. And you threw me off when you said you did business math. I'm like, anybody who does math at all, I'm just impressed with, because I struggle with math. But
Yeah.
that sounds so difficult. Is it
Yeah.
hard?
I started as a math major in college. That's how good at math I was.
Oh wow, that's
But when
pretty
I
cool.
got to some of the more abstract math courses, I wasn't wrapping my head around it. I was struggling mightily. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I like math, but not like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to do matrix theory. I don't want to do differential equations. That's engineer math. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that with the engineer. I had to take down a 12 by 24 shed, and it was like, I don't know, 15, 16 feet high. And I had the house, real close to it. I had a tree and I had the fence. So there was only one way for this thing to fall. And I really felt like I was an engineer at this point, because um, I can't hit anything if it'll damage it, and then I have to pay for it. So,
Right.
and I'm like, I dropped it, but I'm like, God, I feel like an engineer. I don't want to do this again because this is too stressful. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But I'm fascinated with anybody with engineering as well. It's just a cool, I don't know, thing for me to be interested in. But so I have some questions, off the wall questions that I'd like to ask you. And what is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote. I read this in a Tony Robbins book called Awaken the Giant Within. He was talking about life metaphors, which is basically it's a way that you define how life is for you.
Mm-hmm.
And he said this: life is like a Jeopardy game. All the answers are on the board. The winner is the one who asks the right questions. And the one thing I love most about that quote is it presupposes that all the answers are already available. You just have to figure out which questions are appropriate to ask to unlock that for you. So nothing's hopeless. There's an answer to everything. And I love living in a world where there's an answer to everything.
I love that too. I really work with my guys on this because it's really funny. We'll go and get a couch or something, and we're struggling to get it out. And I'm like, look, they did not build the house around the couch, so it got in here. It has to come out. But teaching that to other people is challenging at times. But I love that because there is an answer for everything. It might not be the one you want, but
Yeah.
there is an answer for it. Yeah. So, what words of advice would you give?
I would tell someone to stop playing so small. The world needs you more than you realize. And the longer you don't take action, the longer that the person who needs you doesn't get to experience you.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great thing for advice. I love that. How would your family and friends describe you?
Wow.
Good
Which ones?
ones.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I I would like to think that they would say ambitious, big dreamer, optimistic, sees
I
the good
like that.
side of everything.
Yeah. I'm optimistic too. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
In my world, it's butterflies and unicorns. So, it's cool. And
Yeah.
disco balls.
Yes. We love
Disco
disco
pigs.
here too.
I got on eBay and Amazon looking for more disco stuff. And I'm like, oh, there's not
Yeah.
much out here.
One time I worked in a call center that had a jukebox and a disco ball on the ceiling.
Oh, I love that. How
And
cool is
so
that?
occasionally on the sales floor, they would turn the lights off and turn the disco ball on and play disco music. This jukebox had probably 400 CDs in it.
Wow.
And the
How
managers
cool.
would always pick the songs, but if you got a sale, you got to pick the next song.
Oh, that's cool. That is
Yeah.
cool. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
disco music is just so cheery. I love it.
Yeah.
It really is. Um, what is your superpower?
My superpower is interviewing people and drawing stuff out of them that they didn't know they had. I love it when a guest says, I've never been asked this before.
That's good.
Kevin Harrington said, I actually stumped him. I don't mean to stump him. I don't mean to stump my guests. But when I had him on my show, he actually said, I had to stop and think about this one for a minute.
That's cool.
That was a cool moment.
Isn't he one of the sharks?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's amazing. I know I've listened to your show. You've had some really amazing guests on there. And I love listening to podcasts. I mean, I don't even listen to music. I listen to podcasts anytime I can, just because I learned so much from what other people's stories are. It's so fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is
How
fun.
often do you do your podcast?
It's every Monday at 6 Eastern.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
consistency is important. That's why I've got 10 years under my belt, is because I do it at the same time every week.
Yeah.
Unless the guest has a conflict, at which time we schedule it and in advance, we tape it in advance during the week, and I have it air on Monday.
Okay. So yours are generally live?
They are.
Oh, wow.
And that presents a different challenge when there's technology issues. That does present a challenge.
Yeah. I'm just now getting into podcasting and learning. And I had a podcast, an interview with Miranda Jiggins, and I have my computer set up and it's supposed to be charging while it's plugged in. And then all of a sudden it shut down. I'm like, oh God. So I had to reschedule that. I'm like, I did not see that one coming.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know why it did that, but
yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, that was terrifying. So I'm glad mine are recorded, but
yes.
What do you think your mission in life is?
To help as many people get their message out to the world as possible.
Oh man, that's awesome. I love that. And what is your favorite book?
If I had to pick my favorite book that someone else wrote, it would be The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Okay,
cool. I'm writing some of this stuff down.
I would also say right up there would be The Aladdin Factor by Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield. It's about learning how to ask and why we're afraid to ask and who you should ask. And there's lots and lots and lots of stories of people who successfully asked for something that they didn't think they could get.
Yeah. I try and look at everything that I'm already at a no, right? So I'm not going to get anything lower than that. So it never hurts to ask because I'm already at no without asking.
Right. And Jack Canfield shares this really amazing analogy. He said, let's just pretend that you are asking someone out on a date that you really, really, really want to spend some time with. If you are afraid to ask the beautiful girl or the beautiful guy, whichever, your situation is, don't be afraid, because what's the worst thing that could happen? You already don't have a date with them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ask and they say yes, that's upside. But if they say no, you're right back where you started. You didn't have a date before you asked, and you don't have a date now. So what's the downside? If
Yep.
it's rejection, you can get over that.
Yeah, exactly. And I've explained that to my son too. But yeah, that's what makes it good. You're already
Yeah.
at no, so there's nowhere else to go but up, you know.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Um, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, I have several. Singing in the Rain is my favorite musical of
Oh,
all
cool.
time. That starred Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and Debbie Reynolds when she was only 20 years old.
Do you like musicals?
I love musicals.
Have you ever heard of the musical Man of La Mancha?
I have. I haven't seen it though.
Okay. I showed that to my husband years ago and he's like, no. But it is one of my favorite movies because it has Peter O'Toole and Sophia Loren in it.
Yeah.
And I just think they're great actors.
Yeah.
So for that I love it. But I like musicals as well. They're really good.
Yeah. I also like The Breakfast Club. And interestingly enough, I like Silence of the Lambs.
Oh wow, yeah. Wow, that's pretty different right there. That's pretty cool.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. The Breakfast Club is really good too. I like that one. That was
Yeah.
really good. Um, what did I ask this? What is your superpower?
You did.
Okay. Um, what gives you motivation to keep you going?
Knowing that I still have something left to do in this world
Oh, I love it.
and people need me.
Yeah, I like that. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
What is the funniest or craziest thing you have ever done?
I've gone skydiving twice and now I'm done.
Wow, what makes it done after 2 times?
Well, it can be a fairly expensive habit,
Oh,
but I went a second time because it was only $40 if you did it again within 30 days.
oh wow.
So they wanted to promote you coming back. And my friend that went with me, it was his Christmas present that year.
Aw,
So it was in early December here in Arizona, which it's still pretty decent weather out here. So in December. So yeah, we did that.
that's
And it
pretty
was fun.
cool.
We had a great time. And it was just the two of us. It wasn't a plane full of 8 people or 6 people like was the time before.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people do that and they really enjoy it. And I'm like, I'm just going to go to the indoor skydiving and attempt that one first.
I haven't done that, although I would be willing to do that. I'd be willing to
Yeah.
try that.
I I I don't know if I'm necessarily afraid of heights, but I'm definitely not. I'm definitely kind of scared. I think of free falling, so which is kind of what you're doing before you pull the parachute, right? So
Yeah, you have to jump before the parachute opens. Yes.
yeah. I'm like, I don't know. So I figured I'll try the indoor one and see if I can do that one okay, and see how that
Yeah.
works. We have one pretty close.
The worst thing that can happen is if it fails, you'll never have to do it again.
That's that's it. Hopefully, if I ever do it outside, I bounce.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully there's a giant trampoline on the ground to greet you.
yeah, no doubt. Well, my joke is God watches me, right? And every time he catches me, and when it's my time to go, he's gonna go, my bad. So I don't
Yep.
want it to be at the time that I'm jumping from the plane.
Yep.
So what are your biggest challenges?
My biggest challenges, sometimes my biggest challenge is finding enough time. I think honestly, in my business, the biggest challenge is letting go. I finally hired a VA last year and
Oh
it was a really
wow.
good decision. I'm probably at a point where I'm going to be needing to hire another VA shortly.
Wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's really it's
So I
nice.
think sometimes the transition to working in your business to working on your business can be a scary jump for some people.
Yes. Yeah. I'm feeling that pain right now, really
Hmm.
bad. And what I need is equipment. So I'm really stuck.
Hmm.
I wish it was office help, but I need equipment so I can have a crew.
Yeah.
But so I feel even more stuck. But
Yeah.
you know, I'll get there eventually. Um, What accomplishments are you most proud of?
Wow. I mean, I have several. Earning a master's degree is one of the most difficult things I've ever done.
Wow, that sounds pretty hard.
It was. Uh, gosh, I also did contest speaking in high school and college. I
Wow,
made all state in high school when I was a senior, and I qualified for nationals in college when I was a senior.
that's
So
cool.
I've done a lot of speaking, and I think that's been very helpful for my career. And people
Yeah.
tell me I have a radio voice, and I always tell them thank you. I do have a show, believe it or not. Oh, it's not hard to believe.
That's
10 years
pretty cool.
strong. 10
Yeah,
years strong. Yeah.
that's awesome. How long did it take you to get your master's?
I spread it out over the course of 5 years because I went full time for the first year, and then I took a year and a half off because I was burned out. And then I went back part time.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
it took me another, oh gosh, when did I go back? I spread it out over the course of 2.5 years to
Hmm.
finish,
That's pretty cool.
taking a couple classes at a time.
Yeah, that's awesome. I struggle with that, so I never went to college. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll just read books. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
What is the most courageous thing you've ever done?
Apart from skydiving,
Yeah.
I think starting a business is probably the most courageous thing you've ever done because it is all on you. You rise and fall on your own efforts,
Yeah.
period. You don't have the safety net of a paycheck,
Yeah.
and you learn that you have to figure things out. You have to. You have no choice.
Yep. All right. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it say?
Oh goodness. You mean, are we talking about like a gravestone? Or like, I mean, I know you said billboard, but I mean, is this like a promotional thing or
Yeah, like on the side of the highway, billboard.
oh, write your book, ask me how.
Oh, that's perfect. I love
Yeah.
that. That is so perfect for you. All
Yeah.
right. I got one last question.
Yes.
How do you get rid of the trash and junk in your life when it piles up?
You have to feed positive stuff into your mind and into your body, and you focus on that. Really, if there's junk in your life, you have to deal with it.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of inner work is required. Hiring a coach helps. Having a mindset coach really helps. Listening to positive audios, reading books, having an inspiring conversation every single day with somebody. Doesn't
I
have to be
love
the
that.
same person every day, although it
Yeah.
can be. That helps a lot. And when you start focusing on the good, you're going to get the good. But if you focus on the junk, it's going to stay there and it's going to accumulate and multiply. You know this. I mean, if you
Yep.
don't deal with the junk, it's just going to keep adding up.
Yep.
You keep focusing on it. You keep buying stuff that you
Yep.
don't need. And all of a sudden, you look like a hoarder.
Yeah. I see a lot of that where especially like Amazon, they'll buy all this stuff and I'm like, if you took care of the boxes as they came, you wouldn't have to call me. You know,
Mhm.
you just put them out in your recycle or in your trash or whatever. But it just amazes me sometimes how we'll go and there's literally like it's a 2-car garage and half of it's full of empty boxes because they didn't take care of it as they got them.
You know what's interesting? I sometimes save empty boxes because I think I'm going to move. And you know you're adulting when you won't throw away a box because it's a really great box.
I I don't throw away all my boxes either, but I do have a purpose for them. But that's really funny. I like that one. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good. But yeah, they do make great organization.
Yeah.
So I went into one hoarder house and it was so clean and organized, but everything was literally packed in a box. And what he
Mm.
was wanting to do was go through all the boxes and to see what he wanted, which is funny because I don't know how long it's been in the box, you know. So I think some of that has been in there, I don't know, 10 years from my understanding. So I'm like,
Wow.
why do you really want to go see the box? But okay, so however you want to do it. But it was one of the cleanest hoarding houses I've ever seen because everything was just the rooms were packed, but it was all boxes. Everything was in a
Yeah.
box and neatly stacked as best as he could stack it. So it was really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So would you please leave us your contact info so our guests can get in touch with you?
Yeah. You can email me, brian@briankwright.com. And if you want to learn more about what I do, you can go to briankwright.com, or you can go to writeabookforyou.com.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate you coming back with me again and talking and sharing your story with our audience. And I just truly appreciate everything you do. You're so amazing, and I'm truly fascinated with how all this stuff works. It's just amazing to me.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was great to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to say to our audience, we appreciate you coming and listening, and hope you have an awesome day. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.